Good evening, everyone, and welcome on behalf of the Parent-Teacher Council of Westfield. Thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight for this Board of Education Candidates Forum. I especially want to reach out and thank the Westfield High School staff for helping coordinate the event. My name is Lisa Espina. I am President of the Parent-Teacher Council of Westfield, and I'll be your moderator this evening. It's a privilege to help facilitate this important conversation about the future of our school district and our community. Tonight's forum is an opportunity for voters to hear directly from the candidates seeking to serve on the Westfield Board of Education. These individuals have stepped forward to take on a significant responsibility, helping guide policy, support our educators, and ensure that our students receive the highest quality education possible. Our goal this evening is to provide a fair, respectful, and informative discussion. Each candidate will have equal time to share their perspectives, answer questions, and explain their priorities. The format for tonight will be as follows: an introductory statement from each candidate, question rounds without rebuttal, and closing statements. Time limits will be enforced to ensure fairness to all candidates. We encourage the audience to listen carefully, reflect on what you hear, and use this opportunity to better understand how each candidate hopes to serve the Westfield community. With that, let's begin. I'd like to start by introducing our candidates: Kent Diamond, Patrick Duffy, and Anthony Tessitore. Each candidate will now have an opportunity to give a brief opening statement.
Hello. First, thank you to Mona and Lisa and to the Parent-Teacher Council for hosting this Candidates Night. I look forward to answering your questions. My name is Kent Diamond, a current member of our Board of Education with over 6 years of experience and a current co-chair of the Finance Committee. My family has lived in Westfield for over 20 years and our children attend Westfield schools. With my experience and established working relationship with fellow board members and school administrators, my goals for a third term would be this. First, the referendum. Work is well underway here, but while behind-the-scene work has happened since the referendum passed last April, there is much more to do as this referendum will touch 9 of our 10 schools with projects starting this summer. This includes what will be a successful full-day kindergarten launch for the 2028-29 school year. Prior to that, there will be a town vote for an estimated $4 million in operating costs to fund kindergarten teachers, paraprofessionals, and other staff and associated costs. Second goal would be strategic plan and budgeting. Our district is in the midst of the 2023-2028 5-year strategic plan. While our dynamic district improves the curriculum and provides students with even more opportunities, we will keep a watchful eye on expenses and the potential impact to the taxpayers. Our district has a positive relationship with the town and seeks ways to work together. Examples include the field maintenance. With the new town administration, we'll seek to keep this relationship going. And third is health and safety. This includes physical safety as well as social and emotional well-being. The aim is to provide an environment where students feel safe and where there is space for them to reach their potential. Physical safety includes the maintenance of our decades-old school. Good luck to my fellow candidates, and thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Pat Duffy, Patrick Duffy on the ballot, and I'm excited to be here running for a seat on the Board of Education in our wonderful town of Westfield. Earlier this morning, I was having coffee, reading emails, and pondering what to say tonight, and I came across a Teddy Roosevelt quote that really summed up what I wanted to bring to this today. Do what you can with what you have where you are. For me, that means showing up and giving my time and energy to help my kids and their friends in any way I can. 3 years ago, I expressed interest in joining the PTO board at Jefferson Elementary. It turned out the only open position left was co-president, and I was asked if I'd be interested in that. Little did I know how much saying yes to that question would change my life. So I started showing up to every school event, to lunches, to fundraising. In my time as co-president at Jefferson, we raised over $200,000 to replace a dangerous and inaccessible playground and instead give the community an accessible structure that accommodates more kids than ever before. I showed up to my kids' sports, coaching rec softball and basketball, and getting to know the students and the parents throughout the town. Then I said yes again and started showing up again when Lincoln needed a PTO president for this year. When there was a chance to help shape the schools for decades to come through the referendum last year, I showed up. First as a part of the community group that helped decide the direction the Board of Ed would choose, and then as a part of the group that helped get the word out for the election. I even appeared in the video that was put out telling people when and how to vote. Right now, my kids are in kindergarten and 4th grade, I plan on continuing to show up for this town and this school district until at least my kids have graduated from Westfield High School. I'm excited to have the chance to give back to our community, to listen to parents and students, and to help welcome them in this new era of Westfield schools. Thank you to everyone who supported me getting on the ballot, to every one of you that came out here tonight, and to all the students, parents, and educators that I've met along the way through these years. My promise to you is that I will keep showing up and giving everything I have to make sure all of our children have every opportunity to succeed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Testatori. I'm a first-time candidate for the Westfield Board of Education. I want to first take this opportunity to thank the PTC for hosting tonight's candidate session to allow myself and my fellow candidates an opportunity to better introduce themselves to the PTC and the members of the public attending tonight. I want to also thank my running mates, the current board members, for being here and for dedicating their time to the board and our community. I truly believe that there's no more noble thing that a citizen can do than to serve their community and in particular provide service to the education of our youth. I am proud to say that I'm a 16-year resident of Westfield, having made the move over the Outer Bridge Crossing from Staten Island, as many of us have, nearly 2 decades ago with my wife, Kimberly, who is a school psychologist for the New York City Board of Education. Several members of my immediate and extended family also work as teachers and in education-related fields. Education and service to the youth has always been a focal point for me and my family. I'm the proud father of 2 beautiful daughters, Emily and Angelina, who are products of the Westfield school system. Emily and Angelina both attended Washington Elementary and Roosevelt Intermediate. Emily is now a senior and Angelina a freshman, both at Westfield High School. I'm happy to say that the experience for our girls has been nothing but positive coming through the system. A little background on myself. I'm a 1997 graduate of Lafayette College in nearby Easton, Pennsylvania. Have a major in government law and history, and a 2000 graduate of Brooklyn Law School. I'm currently a practicing attorney in my firm's office, a mid-sized firm in Morristown, New Jersey, where my practice largely consists of corporate and personal client advice and providing litigation advice to my clients. I'm a candidate for the BOA tonight with no agenda or no particular cause. Every decision that I make is one with one thought in mind. Is this best for our students? A mantra that will be on the ballot beside my name. My goal in running tonight for the board is singular: to help strengthen an already strong system through commitment, collaboration, and application of reason and sound decision making. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here tonight, and good luck to my fellow candidates.
These are questions from residents of Westfield. Over the last 5 years, school taxes in Westfield have risen over $2,000 per year. Notwithstanding that we all want the best for our children, this is becoming unaffordable, especially for seniors on fixed incomes. What specific ideas do you have to roll back the burden on Westfield taxpayers?
Okay. Good question, good question. Taxes have gone up year after year after year, and for this year's budget cycle, which was approved yesterday at the board meeting, we had a big deliberation over whether to have a second question or not, which the town would have to vote for. A majority of the board said no, we burdened the taxpayers enough. A couple wanted to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So it was decided not to, we recognize the impact to the public, and we pulled back the second question and limit the damage to the budget for next year. For example, there's some things that, 3rd grade furniture was one of the things that was going to happen next year, replacing the 3rd grade. Just 2 years ago, we replaced the 1st grade furniture, last year we replaced the 2nd grade, and we're going to keep going. Well, we pulled that from the budget, and we did things like that. Gifted and Talented, we were going to hire a couple of teachers for it. The curriculum department is redoing the programming there. Now, the program is still going to go forward and then be implemented, but we just won't have the resources that we thought we would. So we're making little conscious decisions like that. That doesn't say we're never going to do it, but just we're going to take a pause. Because we recognize the burden from the past 5 years and know the burdens that are going to come when the interest payments from the bonds actually start coming due next year, the year after. And then a couple years from now, we're going to go back to the town and ask for an average of about $400 per average household, so we can fund the teachers and the paraprofessionals and the other people we need to fund full-day kindergarten. So the board is well aware of the concerns and the impacts, and we're trying to be our best to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayer money while providing the best education and opportunities for our students and the best facilities we can for our students. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
So I recognize that to have good things, you have to spend money. And you have to make difficult choices. There's no way around that. And our residents have to understand that the value in their homes comes from having a strong school system, in large part. A wonderful place to live, and our schools are a big part of the value of our community. But that doesn't mean that we can just spend willy-nilly. We have to be very careful in the choices that we make. Healthcare costs are a big part of I know, of the concern on the board, and monitoring those costs is very important. So we have to take deliberate steps to monitor the activity in that sector as it will impact the budget. So we have to spend carefully and with a purpose and a goal. Monitoring those costs with committee members, making sure that the costs that we're incurring and spending are with a goal in mind, and being very careful how we monitor those costs. One thing in particular, be very careful with how we go about selecting our vendors, third-party vendors who we're contracting with, and selecting bids and the like to do the work on our infrastructure plans. That cannot be overly emphasized. We need to make sure that we're partnering with stable, good partners, and getting the value and the bang for our buck. That is probably, I think, the biggest challenge as we implement the referendum and look to develop our buildings and work into our buildings. Are we partnering with good, capable people, good contractors we know will do right by us and give us the best value for our buck? Again, everything for a reason and a goal, right? We're spending our money carefully, monitored carefully, with the right people, with the right acumen, monitoring how the money is being spent. Thank you.
Having listened to the budget presentation from Dr. Gonzalez a number of times, I believe that the school district is working smartly and fiscally responsibly to use the money that taxpayers are doling out legitimately. I think last year when we passed our referendum, voters overwhelmingly said that we want to invest in our schools, and our schools are what give us the value back into our house. I believe that people are still trying to get into Westfield and would like to continue getting into Westfield, so I think it would be wise for us to continue investing into our schools the way that we have in the past few years. I echo my fellow candidates' sentiments in that we should be fiscally responsible and that we should be looking into any ways that we can to cut down costs. But unfortunately, there are some unforeseen costs, like the rising healthcare costs for each teacher and each employee of the district that nobody could have foreseen. And so unfortunately, some of our tax dollars are going to offset that now, and we continue to have to work within our budget. Thank you.
How will you improve communication between the board, parents, and the community?
So I think communication's a very important part of what we do. As a PTO president, I've spent the last 3 years trying to get parents to read their emails. I think it falls on both of us to be able to communicate really well, and also for parents and people that are interested to actually read the information that's being put out there. We do a fantastic job here in Westfield of putting out information. It's out there, it's available. We have PTC meetings once a month, which anyone in the town is welcome to attend and see what's going on in their schools firsthand. I believe that one thing that we can do is maybe take out some of the acronyms that are in all the publications that we do. Not everybody knows what every acronym in education is used for, so changing some of those acronyms to the actual things that they are would help clarify things and make it a little more easy to digest for some of the people in the population. But other than that, I think that we do a great job of putting out information, and I do think it falls on a lot of the individual people in our town to read the information that's being put out there and to watch the videos and really hear what's going on in their schools. Thank you.
Good question. I think the district's done a lot of good work in terms of communicating what it's doing, trying to be transparent. It's something the board has required of the superintendent since my time on the board, 8 years ago. We have Kathy here who does a lot of the communication publicity work for us, and she's great at it. Mary Ann was before her, creating presentations, emails, videos. For the referendum, we did the thought exchange where the town could type in their thoughts of what was most important for the referendum, what wasn't. We have the meet and greets, starting next week. The superintendent does the coffee meet and greet at the elementary schools. Doing a lot of the road shows for the budget, the referendum. So we're trying to get it out there because, as Pat said, I'm guilty of it too. I get the emails from the schools. I don't always read them. So it's trying to meet people where they're at. So we have the social media, with the emails, the newsletters, the presentations. So I think it's just doing more of the same and making the information available so that in a way that the town residents can interact and get to it. Thanks.
So I'm not sure there's much more that I can add that my fellow candidates have already said on this topic. Communication is a two-way street. Our parents and our families need to read the communications that are already out there. You need to have a dialogue with your teachers, with the school board, everyone involved. It's a two-way street. It can't just be coming from the district to the parents. The parents have to stay involved, families have to stay involved. I was going to mention the road shows, which I think are a great idea for bringing the budgeted people, making sure that people are educated on how their money is being spent. The use of social media can't be underestimated. Everyone is constantly checking their social media accounts for information, whether it's on personal matters or on school matters or what have you. So using the technology to help distribute information and communicate with people and be interactive on social media, I think is probably a good idea. If it's not email, then maybe it's on social media. Taking the information out to the public, whether it's in the roadshow context or in more open forums so people can have open dialogue with administrators and school staff, I think that's useful. You can never have enough dialogue. I'm all for transparency and every opportunity that we can communicate with the school community and with the administration. I think we're all better off for it.
What is your position on curriculum transparency and parent involvement in curriculum decisions?
The curriculum transparency is actually much improved over the coming years, in the past few years, I should say. The curriculum committee meets regularly with the assistant superintendent and others to develop the new curriculums, to review the curriculums, make changes where it's necessary. And there's a website now where all the curriculum documents are stored, and now as the town residents can go in and look at it. They can view all the documents that we review in the curriculum committee meetings, all the 100-page document for each course if you'd like to get that detailed. But you can see it all. It's available out there. We've put it out there for the public to look at and review. And if there's concerns that the public has, they're more than welcome to come join us at a board meeting and let your voices be heard. We encourage it. We like it. That way we're just not speaking out to the vacuum and doing stuff and saying this is the way it is. As Andy said, it's a two-way street. So the transparency is there now that wasn't there when I first joined the board in 2018. And the website is the main vehicle. We put all the documents out there once they're approved by the board. So I think that's a good thing. And parents are always encouraged to provide their feedback. Whether you talk to your teachers, send an email to Dr. G, come to a board meeting, please, we welcome your feedback. Because your kids we're here for. Thank you.
So I echo Kent's comments. It's a two-way street here. You hand your children over to the schools, but we need to know what parents are seeing in the home. We need to know what's working, what's not working. So parents should be coming out to speak their mind and let the teachers and the board know what they think is right and what's wrong with the curriculum that they're seeing implemented in the schools. I know the board is already hard at work on a number of different things. And we hear, I think, the same concerns over and over again about consistency in teaching. Does each student have the same, did I get the good teacher this year or did I get the bad teacher? Right? We hear that complaint all the time. And that's incumbent upon the teacher, on the parents, speaking with their own family, with the families in their community, hearing what's going on in their classroom and bringing those concerns forward. The district and the board will be responsive. I'm confident of that. There's an open forum. You can come to the Board of Ed meetings, raise those concerns. I know that the board is responsive to making changes to the curriculum. It's a living, breathing thing, which it should be. We should be looking to incorporate different ideas, different cultural ideas into our curriculum to be responsive to the community. And that's where a regular dialogue and feedback with families is critically important. So I would invite and welcome more collaboration with families on the curriculum.
Yeah, the transparency of the curriculum right now is fantastic. I think Dr. Bolton and his team have done a really great job in transforming Westfield's curriculum over the last few years. I've been privy as a member of the PTC to witness and hear all the different changes that have come about. It is, once again, it's open to the public on one Wednesday a month at 10 o'clock, 10:30. And we go over things like this, any changes of the curriculum. The Board of Ed goes over it at least once a month at each of their meetings. There's an open mic at each Board of Ed meeting where any parent can come and voice any concerns they have regarding curriculum or anything else. I honestly don't think the Board of Education could be any more transparent about what's going on with their curriculum. I think it's been well rewritten and well adapted for the current times, and I think it's very open to parents to find all that information, whether it's on the website or in person. Thank you.
What is your stance on class size targets in the district?
I'm going to speak from experience on that one. Both of my girls had the pleasure and the privilege of going through Washington, where class sizes, I believe, were 15-to-1 or 16-to-1. I cannot overemphasize the significance and importance of having as low a class size teacher-to-student ratio as possible. Personalized attention between teachers and their students is critical. I know from experience in New York, where I have family relatives who work in environments where there are teachers, the student ratio is 35 to 40-to-1, and I find it impossible to believe that students can get the personalized attention that they need, especially if we're incorporating kids with students with learning disabilities and learning challenges, where the teachers often have to work very hard to reach those students. I think it's critical. We need to do everything possible to keep those class sizes down within reason, right? We have a budget. We have a budget to be working within. We have only so many resources, and our salaries are our biggest burden on the budget, from what I understand. So obviously, we can the number of teachers is going to be set within our budget. But I can tell you from experience that the smaller the class size, my view is the children have the greater chance to succeed, and I would be all supportive of doing everything within reason to keep that class sizes down.
Current class size ratio is 14-to-1, teachers to students to teachers. I think that's an acceptable number right now. I'd like to fight to make sure that it stays at that number. I know Kent and the current board did everything they could to keep all of the teachers that are on salary this year for next year, which was fantastic. And I think in 3 years, when we're talking about adding kindergarten teachers, it becomes even more important, because I do believe the younger you are, the more hands-on attention you need. So I would fight for everything that we can to make sure that all of those kindergarten classrooms, when they come to each elementary school, are full with wonderful teachers that will look out for the youngest people in our population.
Okay. When the budget is developed every year, the board typically provides guidance to Patty, the business administrator. And one consistent item that's on the list year after year after year is class size cannot increase. It has to stay the same or lower. The board takes it that seriously. Earlier, a few years ago, back at Tamanquas, the parents were complaining because the class sizes were too big. And we adjusted things and added a fifth section. I think it was a second grade at the time. If I remember, maybe not. But so we heard the concerns, we acted, and we added a fifth section. So we do take that seriously, especially at the elementary levels. I will say, I read an article today on NewJersey.com that said 11 districts have budget shortfalls now after the state aid was given, and they're going to be cutting costs. And most of them said they're going to have to increase class size. Well, here we've been lucky that we haven't had to do that. Even when we reduced a few teachers 4 years ago, the class sizes stayed the same. So it's something we value here, we take it seriously, and we're going to keep taking it seriously because it's that important, it's critical to the kids' education. Thank you.
Many neighboring school districts are offering more choices for college preparation. Should we expand AP course offerings, internships, and dual enrollment courses at the high school level?
I'm all for preparing our students for college. Currently, we have 61% of our students do participate in AP classes. I don't know what the neighboring school districts ratio is, but I would guess that's one of the top ones. 96% of our students graduate from high school and go on, and the average SAT score for our high school students is 1320. I think we're doing a reasonably good job of preparing our students for college. I would love to see it enhanced a little bit more, and I think changing the calendar actually helped adjust us a little bit more towards the AP schedule, since all AP tests happen in May, and now we'll start a little bit earlier and get them a little more prepared for those AP test and try to catch up with the rest of the country who starts in early August and gets their students prepared for the May AP test 1 month sooner.
Well, I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have a senior who has just gone through a litany of AP courses over the 2 years, and I think she succeeded with the offerings that we currently have. I think we're really well situated in terms of the offerings that we do have. Does that mean that it can't be tweaked and we can offer more, including internships beyond AP courses? Sure. I think we need to be open to thinking about possibilities of adding new courses and new AP opportunities. But I would not knock the current offerings. I think that they're really adequate. I know that my daughter was very successful in taking those classes and using them as a launching point for her to gain admission to a number of her choices for universities. And I've heard a lot of success stories from other students doing the same. But like I said earlier, the curriculum is a living, breathing thing, and the offerings that the schools offer needs to be a living, breathing thing. If there are other opportunities and other courses that other nearby school districts are offering, we should be thinking about how could we expand our offerings to make us the strongest district in the area.
Dr. Bolton and his team are active. The curriculum is active. It's dynamic. He constantly talks to fellow districts, neighboring districts. With the no second question this year and not hiring some of the teachers that we wanted to, we're still adding a new AP course for next school year, AP Macroeconomics, which is better than microeconomics, but that's different. We have dual enrollment programs with Kane, Syracuse University, and Union College, excuse me. So we're always exploring. Dr. Bolton's team is always exploring different opportunities there. What else can we do? And they also talk to the business owners downtown about internship opportunities. So it's something that they actively do. They explore. They take it seriously, and it's important to them. It's on their radar. Every time I sit in one of these curriculum committee meetings, I'm always amazed. Going, I wish they had this when I was in high school. I wish they had that. So the breadth of offerings that we have here is robust, but we're not sitting on our laurels. We're always constantly going back, saying, what can we do? What to better improve the students, get them ready for their careers later in life? What else do we need to do for them? So we're constantly looking at it. It's a dynamic thing. It's not static. Thank you.
What is your opinion on Chromebooks versus traditional learning methods?
So as a member of the Wait Until 8th movement, I'm fairly against technology in the classroom. I do think we learn better with pen and paper in our hands, and the tactileness of learning is better suited for younger minds. I do think technology has a place in education. I don't think it should be our bread and butter when it comes to education. I would like to see more hands-on reading. I would like to see more hands-on writing. I would like to see no homework on Chromebooks at least until intermediate school. And I do think the Westfield district itself needs to come together to create a more cohesive throughout the district policy on these technologies, because I know each individual school has their own ability to say you can use your Chromebook, you can bring it home, or you can leave it in the school. And I think we just need to come to a clear consensus on what we would like to do with technology going forward for all of our students so that it's uniform throughout the district. Thanks.
Anthony?
So everything in moderation, right? There's a place for technology in the schools. I see how my daughters have used their Chromebooks. My younger one has done her fair job at destroying at least one of them. So again, everything in moderation. I think there's a place for it in the school. We can do some homework on the Chromebooks and have them in the classroom, but it's got to be only part of the teaching tools that we have in our toolbox. I'm terrified to think about what my younger daughter, what her penmanship might look like, and she's loath to want to pick up a book and read it, and much prefer to read it on her tablets or on our Chromebooks, and that's sad in some ways. So I do think that we need to have it balanced, and as Pat said, I think it would be well served to have a district-wide policy with respect to how we use it, so that again we're even-handed in how we treat the use of technology in the schools, so that it's not one protocol, one system at Washington that's different from what we're doing in Tamaulipas or between Edison and Roosevelt. We should be uniform across the district. But again, everything in moderation. Technology has its place. I have it being used for homework and for learning in the classroom, but only for part of the time, and it's got to be balanced.
I agree that moderation is the key here. It served its purpose during COVID times and lockdowns and all that good thing when we had all we had. I still think it's useful. There's a place for it. I know my kids use it as a study habit. They create these little quizzes and ask some questions and they answer them. And so it's a study buddy, if you will. So it does have its place. And some of the courses at the high school has its place, like architectural design. But it's just a tool, just like the textbook's a tool, the teacher's instruction's a tool, the homework is a tool. It's just a tool to be used as well as everything else that the teacher has in their toolkit. So I think that's all I'm going to say about that. Thanks.
How should Westfield respond to the rise of tools like ChatGPT in student work? Ban it, limit, or integrate it? What are the appropriate versus inappropriate uses of AI for students at different grade levels? How should the district redefine cheating and plagiarism in the age of AI? And what policies would you want to put in place in your first year?
I know our district does a lot with AI. Dr. Gonzalez talks to other districts about what Westfield's doing with AI. So Westfield's kind of been, I don't want to say on the cusp of it or on the cutting edge of it, trying to figure out how to implement it into the classrooms. What should we use? What should we use? I want to say, how do you redefine cheating and plagiarism? Well, I mean, if I just say, hey, I have to write a paper for my English lit class, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to do it, and that's obviously plagiarism. It's cheating. It's not. To me, it's a tool. Just like the Chromebook's a tool, the textbook's a tool, the way when we were in school, encyclopedias were a tool. You have a question or something and you can't talk to anyone, ask ChatGPT. But it should be a study habit only. It should be a tool only. It shouldn't be the primary source of education. It shouldn't be the primary source of learning. There should be parameters around it. For the policies, we can redefine the student code of conduct policy and put something in there with regards to AI and cheating and plagiarism and how they handle it and how not to handle it. But I think it needs to be consistent across the district. We should teach kids how to use AI appropriately, whether it's elementary, middle school, to the high school. So they know what the tool is and how powerful it is and how to use it and not use it. I know they do it now in the elementary schools with the internet and security and technology and all that kind of thing. Similar here with AI, we got to do the same kind of thing here to put guardrails and safeguards around it. The same thing they're trying to do in Congress down in DC. We got to do that here, and I think we're farther along in Westfield than some of our neighboring districts are. So that's good, but we're not there yet. We'll get there. That's it.
Anthony?
So, I can tell you from experience that I find ChatGPT and other similar tools in my law practice to be a very useful tool. We can't be scared and afraid of technology and look to run the other way. It's a failing proposition, right? These tools they're going to be there, they're going to get better, and they're going to be pervasive in our society and in our schools. So we need to figure out a way to embrace it. That doesn't mean that we let it run our schools or run our students' lives so that they rely on it solely. We have to figure out a way how to implement it the right way. I don't think it's a choice between ban, limiting, and integrating. I think banning it is a bad idea. I think it's limiting and integrating it the right way. I wouldn't want it to be used in elementary schools for sure, and I probably would frown on the idea of extensive use of it in middle schools. Although I could see why it could be a useful tool in 7th and 8th grade in particular. And it will take some work for us to come up with policies as to how it's actually implemented and used. I think there's a lot of learning to be done in how one feeds prompts into software like ChatGPT. You're critically thinking about the kinds of questions that need to be asked to generate the outcome that you're looking for. So that it's not totally an unuseful or a tool that doesn't learn, that you're being educated from. They're not always giving you the right answers either, and you need to give the system information to be able to get the answer that you're looking for. I do think it would be a good idea to have a policy as it relates to how it's going to be used. And as far as cheating and plagiarism goes, we have to have a very strong policy when it comes to projects like essays and essay writing, where we're not allowing the students to just simply generate their essays based on ChatGPT or some other similar tool. We have to figure out how to limit it in that way so that kids are learning and writing for themselves and thinking for themselves. It's a tool that can be used, but carefully.
So I read earlier this week that when Google's Gemini does AI searches, it gets them right 9 out of 10 times, which is a pretty good hit rate. It's 90%, right? But Google is so big that it's still getting tens of millions of things wrong every second across the globe. And that's just one example of the AI that's going on right now. And all of the AIs are learning and developing in the same way. And they're still getting millions upon millions of things wrong. So at this point, given the infancy of the technology, I would move to ban it at the elementary level. I would limit it at the middle school level, and then I would integrate it at the high school level when kids are older and a little more discerning than they are earlier in their lifetime. I think the policies that I would try to craft would echo what I just said and follow along with that to try to ban it at the earliest levels. I don't think kids in 1st through 5th grade need to put anything into ChatGPT. I think they should be figuring out how to add and how to log data into Excel spreadsheets and to be integrating earlier forms of technology into their education rather than relying on artificial intelligence to do it for them. I think in middle school you can start to take you can give it to them with some training wheels on it so that they're learning, so long as our teachers are well educated on it as well. And then in high school, as they're developing into young adults, that's when you take the training wheels off and you still have oversight into it with, again, well-trained teachers that know it as well, if not better than their students. And then you truly integrate it that way. Thank you.
Westfield is known for high performance. What specific changes or innovation would you introduce to further improve balancing academic rigor versus student mental health?
But some of those things we've done already with the block scheduling, that was meant to help with that as well. I know Dr. Bolton and his team are looking now at the current policy on homework and testing. Because one hasn't been updated in over 20 years, and the other one hasn't been updated in like 10 or 15 years. So I know my kids are eagerly awaiting the results of that. So they are taking they're cognizant of the workload that's, especially at the high school, from the classes, coupled with if you have an activity or a sport. I mean, you're busy. You wake up at 6, you go to bed at midnight. So they're aware of this, and they're trying to figure out what's the right school-life balance, if you will. The way we struggle with work-life balances, we're trying to do the same thing with the student population, and what's best for them. So I know Dr. Bolton's already working on it with his team. I wait for the results of what they're especially with the homework and the testing policies, because I think that would be the bigger bang for the buck. To see what that happens before I weigh in further.
Anthony?
So I understand that the district recently increased the counseling services in the school 2 years ago. I think counseling is really important, not only from allowing the kids the opportunities to speak to people about their workload, but have a sounding board for advice and making sure that we have got adults in the school who are making sure of the kids' mental health and they're aware of what the kids are going through. Counseling also in the context of making sure that our counselors are helping the students balance their schedules, right? They're not taking too many classes, too many AP classes at one time, or too many honors classes at one time, that their workload is properly balanced so that they're not drowning in homework and testing, right? So counseling can be a really critical tool here in making sure that we're balancing the rigor with mental health for our students. Constantly monitoring our homework policy. What is the district's homework policy? How are we handling, and reviewing what our teachers are doing in terms of how much homework are they assigning? Feedback from parents. Are we collecting feedback in terms of what is the experience at home? Are they hearing from their students that they're drowning, or there's too much work, or there's not enough work, right? We need to have an open dialogue with our families. We need to rely on our counselors and have our ears and eyes open as to what the experiences that the kids are going through, academically, in their social life, to make sure that their mental health is in the right place.
Yeah, I think we need to remember that kids are kids. At this point, we've reached a point where we're trying to optimize everything. We're trying to get the best test scores. We're trying to get our kids into the best colleges. We're trying to fill their slate with all these activities and things that will improve their resume. And we need to remember that they're still kids, whether they're in high school, middle school, or still in kindergarten. They're just kids. They still need to play. They still need to get out. They need to be in the sunlight. You know, getting them away from screens, getting them a recess, getting them outdoors, adding bike racks. I know the high school just added their new bike oasis, encouraging that to get them riding bikes to school and things like that. I would like to see health courses developed a little bit more robustly starting in elementary school to middle school to high school, but taking on things like sleep and nutrition and physical fitness, not just playing the new sport or just trying to climb a rope, but like knowing how 8 hours of sleep or 9 hours of sleep affects a teenager, as opposed to getting 6 hours of sleep and staying up all night watching Snapchat or whatever they're on these days, TikTok, I guess. Sorry. But yeah, I just think that we need to remember that they're kids. We don't need to fill their plates with every activity. We don't need to run them from 2 different things in one afternoon and then force them to do homework. I think we've done a good job of limiting homework so far. I think it gets bigger as I get to the middle schools. I know I don't have middle school kids yet. But I think we just need to pay a little more attention to the fact that they are kids and to not lose sight of that right now. Thank you.
How should the district address bullying, social media, and student safety?
Obviously, we have a very robust process for complaints, right? And the board is actively reviewing appeals. I think, if I understand correctly, that's their role in terms of the environment. But it starts at home, right? And it starts with a dialogue between the families, the parents, and the district and their teachers, making sure that parents are monitoring their children's social media activity, and they're listening and they're paying attention to what their students are doing, right? The district cannot be fully responsible on its own to be monitoring all the activities that the students have on social media. It's rampant in their lives. It's going on outside of the classroom. I think we need to limit cell phones in the schools, be very careful about how they're being used, because information gets around like wildfire, and that information spreads quickly in the schools, and kids are going after each other and holding each other accountable in the schools. We have to be very careful about how we use the cell phones in the schools and technology in the schools. And student safety is key. We need to be paying attention to what our students are doing on social media, talking to our parents, talking to the teachers, talking as a group, involving all the stakeholders, listening and developing policies to make sure that our kids are safe, and we're limiting technology in a way to make sure that we're monitoring carefully what's going on those devices and how they're being used to harass and bully students in our system.
Patrick?
So I think step 1 is to model the behaviors that we want our students to have. Whether that's ourselves, our faculty, anybody out there using their social media, we need to demonstrate what we should be doing to our children so that they learn from our behaviors. Step 2 is to not give your children social media until they're old enough and ready to use that type of tool. I don't think social media should be given to students below 16. There's countries that are currently banning it for students that are under the age of 16. And I would love to see America do that. I don't think they will, but if they're not going to ban it, parents should keep it out of their kids' hands until they're ready for it. Step 3 would be to teach them how to use it once they are ready for it. We teach children how to drive a car when they're old enough to do it. We should do the same steps to teach them how to use social media so that they're not going out there and posting idiotic things that will get them in trouble and that will show up when they run for board of ed someday, So I really do think it's important to model the behaviors, to keep it out of their hands until they're old enough, and then to teach them how to truly use it before, and if they go awry with it, take it away from them once they have it. So, thank you.
It's funny because a couple of words I wrote down are 2 of the words that Patrick said. It's model, whether it's the parents modeling, the teachers modeling, the administrators modeling. We have to model the behavior that we want them to exhibit. It starts at home. I think it's a partnership between the parents and the school district. It's not just us telling the kids what to do, and then the parents say, well, no, don't do that, do something else. We're in it together. I know talking about social media, I know a family has banned social media and kind of made a deal with their kids saying, if you stay off social media till you're 18, I'll do something else for you. And it's worked very well. And when people hear it, they're like, what a great idea. But that starts at home. It starts with the family. I think it can be reinforced in the school, it's especially when you couple it with education, teaching them how to use the tools they have here. As I mentioned earlier, I know they teach them some at the elementary school how to do the internet searches and that kind of thing. Well, social media should be involved in that as well. The cell phones, the new law just passed. It's going to happen in September. Bell to bell, they're not allowed in schools anymore. I know Dr. Bolton and his team are figuring out exactly what does that mean. Will the students be able to have it in the backpack, or will there be a pouch or someplace to put it when you walk into the school? So they're still figuring out those details, as well as what the consequences are if you're found to be using your cell phone. But that's going to happen this September, this school year, where students are not allowed to use a cell phone at all during the school day, even during lunch or free time. And Dr. Bolton said, my dad told him last night about it, is some districts that have done this already have seen the positive results. When I was growing up, my age, I used to say your kids watch too much TV. Well, the phones have now replaced that, and the phones are much more portable, so kids are always on the phones. So I think it's going to help their attention span, help their education, help their performances. So I think it's a good thing.
What is the biggest risk factor facing Westfield schools today? Pat, I'll have you start.
I think not having a cohesive policy around technology is probably the biggest risk factor right now. It's affecting our students' emotional, mental well-being. It's limiting how quickly they develop as well. It's inhibiting their attention span. And it's creating most of the unsafe scenarios in our schools, whether it's, the hoax that gets the school locked down, or, the ChatGPT inappropriate videos that are, making students want to move out of the district. I think those types of technologies and not having guardrails and a cohesive policy around who's using what when is our biggest risk right now for us not becoming the school district that we can actually be.
Anthony?
I'm going to piggyback on what Patrick said. I think technology and phones in particular are the biggest risk facing Westfield schools. We are focused on outcomes. And what I mean by that is, are we producing kids who can speak intelligently, who can stand in front of an audience and communicate, who can interview well when on a job interview, who are comfortable in their own skin in a crowd, or being a leader? And if we spend too much time with our face down in our phone and on technology, I fear that our very bright and capable student body may not be the types of leaders that we expect them to be. And we have a lot of families who have done very well living in this town, and they've got beautiful, young, smart children. And if they are really going to meet their capabilities and be the best that they can possibly be, they need to be leaders, and they need to be off their devices. They need to be able to stand in front of a room. They need to be able to carry a conversation. They need to be nimble on their feet in dialogue and communicating with people, whether it's in a work setting or an interview setting or a college interview or in internships. And I fear that the amount of time that we're spending on technology, children may not meet their potential to be the kind of leaders that we expect them to be.
All right, thank you. Anthony Pack gave good answers, and I agree that is a concern. But I also think it's being addressed, like the bell-to-bell policy, with some of the other things that Dr. Bolton and his team are doing, and Dr. Gonzalez. Taking it from a different direction, I think one of the biggest risk factors now is the town just greenlighted the district to spend $225 million over the next 3+ years. That's a huge sum of money. The risk there is we screw it up. I don't think we will, but I'm just saying that's a huge risk. We planned, we're very meticulous, we got the right people in the right places, we're hiring the right firms, but the world's an uncertain place right now. We have $225 million, but there's a conflict in the Middle East that drives up prices. or PSCNG says, no, you can't do this with the electrical grid. So I think there's a lot of moving parts when you're touching 9 out of 10 of our buildings over the next 3+ years. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of balls in the air. But the risk is we drop 1 or 2 of them. And I don't think we will, but you're asking what's the biggest risk? That is, I think, but I do think we have the team in place to handle it.
Where do you want the district to be in 5 to 10 years from now? Anthony, I'll have you start.
I want to see new school buildings, and we finally have the referendum passed, and our school buildings need a major facelift. Our sports fields and athletic fields need a major facelift, and I know that that's not all on the district and on the board, but whatever part we can play in that initiative, I think is going to be a critical part and an important part. I look forward to the opportunity to work with the fellow board members to figuring out how to best use this money that's been entrusted to us to rebuild our school system. Some of our school buildings are an embarrassment, and when I travel around to other school districts and see the facilities, the towns that frankly have a lot less money than Westfield does, see the facilities that they have, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. We moved here, 16 years ago for a better life, and that was a better school system with better buildings, better facilities, and this town deserves that. And in 5 to 10 years, I'm really hoping that this group, and I know that Kent's already done really good work with that, and the rest of the board is already hard to work at that. I want to see a thriving Westfield with a thriving downtown and a thriving school system with new upgraded school buildings that can really be a something that we can all be very proud of.
I'm trying to think how old my kids will be. One would probably be just about to leave the school district at that point. So I would hope through her eyes that she's achieved a great, well-rounded education that will serve her in the next steps of her life. And when I say my child, I hope that for all of our neighbors as well. I think we're doing a good job of moving in the right direction. I think by passing our referendum last year, we were able to allocate a lot of money to upgrade a lot of our facilities that were falling down, and I do think that will improve a lot of things. Look around at this room, how it's already been updated by some of the capital projects. So if you don't believe me, go back and watch last year's candidates debate and see how this room has transformed in just a year. So things are moving in the right direction. I think the curriculum is moving in the right direction. I would like to limit technology so that our kids can continue to be children until they're 18 and moving on to their adult lives. I would like to see a little less emphasis on test scores and a little more emphasis on kindness and empathy towards our fellow people. I do think that's happening. I do think the hiring of guidance counselors for each school was a big step in the direction for that. And honestly, I just want to continue to see the growth that we're going through right now, because it is happening, and I really want to help it along.
I want the district in 5 to 10 years to be a state-of-the-art place that's a desirable place that you want to send your children to. That will prepare them for college and beyond. A place that challenges them and provides them opportunities. I want the district to be fiscally responsible. This referendum is a great example of that. And just a plug, come to next week's board meeting, because you'll see renderings of what the 10 buildings are going to look like. The architects are coming. It'll be the public's first chance to see the plans that we have in place for some of these buildings. It might be a long meeting, but it's definitely worthwhile. I got a sneak peek. So be fiscally responsible. We don't have a place where, I want to be one of these 11 districts I read around today that's going to have to cut things because they didn't manage the money right. They cut teachers, cut programs, increase class sizes. So I think Westfield is doing that, and I think they will continue to do that. We have the right leadership in place. We have the hardworking teachers and all the support staff. We have the security around them with the school resource officers. I think we just need to maintain what we're doing, continue to grow and evolve the curriculum based on the careers and how they evolve and how AI is going to impact things. But I like with the trajectory that Westfield is on, and I think it will continue, it will improve, and it's a good place to be, and I'm glad you're here.
We will now move to closing statements. Patrick, I'll have you start.
This evening, we were given the opportunity to answer questions and lay out what we hope to do over the course of the next 3 years. Westfield has already voted and told us what they want out of our schools. They chose to invest in the future of these schools in the manner of the $225 million referendum. They want full-day kindergarten in their neighborhood schools, and they want it sooner than later. They want safe schools that include everyone. They want small classes that prepare their students for college and the real world. My goal is to do everything in my power to make those desires a reality. I want those things for my kids and for my neighbors' kids. Over the course of the next 3 years, I promise to make decisions based on what will be best for the majority. I will put students first and foremost and will listen to the voters in this town and support what they want out of their schools. I will do my best to advocate for the educators as well, to try and reward them when they are successful and find ways to support them when they are struggling. I believe a strong faculty is the most important part of a successful school system, and I will be a champion for them throughout my term. As we look toward the future and the massive physical overhaul of our schools, I am excited to be able to be a part of this, to bring my energy and efforts to the Westfield Board of Education, and to fully realize the potential this investment in our schools is affording us. Westfield residents should be excited about the potential, and I promise I will do everything I can to turn that excitement into genuine pride over what we are able to accomplish in the next 3 years. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for hosting.
Thank you. Anthony?
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here tonight. I just want to circle back again to some of my background. I have been an active volunteer in this community since I moved here 16 years ago. Many of you know me as a vice president and travel director for the softball program. I have also coached softball for many years. I have been the athletic director at St. Helens. I was part of the Washington School Show for many years, which was the school's biggest fundraiser. I am also on the Westfield Retail Advisory Board, where I am a member of that board, where we give advice to local businesses to help the downtown thrive. Volunteerism is in my blood. It's what I do. I am a volunteer. I've been a volunteer in this town since I moved here. I'm a candidate for the Board of Education with no agenda and no particular cause. Every decision I make is one with one thought in mind. Is this best for our students? That's a mantra that will be on the ballot beside my name. My goal in running for the board is singular: to help strengthen an already strong system through commitment, collaboration, and application of reason and sound decision-making. This evening, the candidates were given opportunities to answer questions to address a wide variety of topics facing our school community. I did my best to give you forthright and honest answers, and if elected, if I don't know the answer to a question, rest assured I will do nothing but work hard as needed to find the answer. Whatever the issue is, I will listen, evaluate, and review all of the information possible to come up with the best plan and strategy for our community. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Ken?
Thanks again to Lisa and Mona for organizing tonight, and for all of you who came out to listen to us talk for an hour. I present myself as an experienced Board of Ed candidate with no hidden agenda or preconceived notions. I offer my skills and talents in building budgets, financial and operational analysis, in building strong, meaningful relationships, and in listening. I offer my reliability and commitment as I know the hours involved in going to committee meetings, board meetings, talking to others, and gathering information. Further, I bring an open mind to the Board of Ed as I gather as much information as possible on issues, talk to people, consider the financial impact, and support decisions that best serve your children and the Westfield School District. In this town of ours, we value a superior education, of preparing our children for their lives ahead of them. As a board member, I'll use my experience for the benefit of your children in our district, as I am committed to maintaining our level of education and continue to improve in areas such as diversity. As issues come up, I will seek the opinions and perspective of others, as well as gather the necessary data so as to make an informed decision. As you go to the polls on April 21st, I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you for your time this evening, and have a good night.
Thank you to all of our candidates for a thoughtful discussion, and thank you to the community for participating. Special thank you to Mona Purse, our Vice President of the Parent Teacher Council of Westfield, and Catherine Ernst, here today helping us with our videography and support us through the way of planning this event. Please remember to vote April 21st in the upcoming election. Your voice matters in shaping the future of our Westfield School District. Good night. Thank you again.